things that pop up my phone right as I'm starting. I'm going to have one more that I'm going to have to remove, so I apologize for footprint. Hey, YouTube Live. We're live on Instagram and live on YouTube. Thanks for joining me tonight. The topic is money. Is it your substitute for satisfaction? Ooh. How many people, and you can raise a hand if you know yourself, although if you're doing this, you may not know yourself as well as you need to, but how many people do you need who hang on to a job they absolutely hate? It's possibly killing them because of the money. And so I'm not criticizing because there are times when you've just got to do that to hang on. But the question is, are you working a job that's killing you purely for the money, and you're making up for that by spending the money on all kinds of doodads or whatever that you don't need just to soothe yourself for the job that you hate? So, the way that people make multi-millions of dollars is because they are in their sweet spot. They're doing what they love to do for the most part, and they have the energy and the high performance needed to make ridiculous amounts of money, and they have more money coming to them than they'll ever need. Now, the flip side of that is people who are in jobs purely for the money and then doing silly things with the money. So I want to tell you a little bit of why I believe firmly in this, and that I'm not just talking hypothetically. I went off to college. I was an engineering major. I had a really low GPA at the end of my freshman year. I left that job, took the fuse off, worked. And in the meantime, I kept interviewing engineers and asking questions like, what does your job look like? And I never met any guys that were having any fun. So I decided, well, I'm not going to do that. And then I just literally put on the goggles of, okay, how can you make a lot of money? And for some reason, I had enough people tell me that, oh, accountants make good money, that I decided to major in accounting. And I really never cared for school. I really was completely mercenary about it. All I wanted to do was get a piece of paper that said I had a college degree. And it sounds odd to many people, but accounting was a path of least resistance through school for me. I was a guy who never wanted to do English. I could do arithmetic. I could count to 20 if I had my shoes off. So I'm like, accounting is it for me. I ended up getting really good grades, and I got hired by one of the big international accounting firms. And it was the worst 2 years of my life. I actually really enjoyed the people I worked with. High integrity, great people. But oh dear, I was not cut out for the work of being an accountant every day. And I was sick half the time. I had bronchitis. I was just miserable. So I fixed my eyes on becoming a commercial real estate broker. And there was really only one company I wanted to work for. It was the largest company in the country at the time. That was largest commercial brokerage company at the time. And sorry for the thumbprint there on Instagram, had to remove something. And so I started calling into the offices of this company, and and the managers would give me a little pat on the head and say, "Oh, that's cute. Oh, you're an accountant. Yeah, we're not looking for accountants to sell commercial real estate. Go and sell copiers or just do some kind of heavy duty sales job for 3 or 4 years, and then give us a call back." And I had no interest in doing that. So I totally lucked into one day, open up the newspaper. It was back when jobs were in newspapers. And there was a job for the company that I wanted to work for on the commercial real estate side, looking for an internal auditor for the parent corporate company. And so I applied, I got that job. And my strategy was, I figured, well, once I'm inside the company, I'll be able to have more conversations, do more things than if I were outside the company. Because to be honest with you, when you'd call these managers up, they wouldn't even take the time to meet with you. Now, all of a sudden, I'm in the company. I'm a company insider. I'm the proverbial camel who got his nose into the tent, and started interviewing. And pretty much a year from the day I started as an internal auditor, I started as a commercial real estate broker. And so I have firsthand made those I made complete career changes, and I've made them a few times now. And I think I'm at a point where I'm on the career I really love, and I'm going to keep doing this one. Um, but I share that story because I sought out accounting because it was all about money. I stayed in accounting because it was all about money. And also, if you saw my previous video, I talked about sunk cost and the terrible decisions we make because of sunk costs. And I couldn't get it out of my head. It's like, I've got this accounting degree. I am like reasonably smart, passably smart. Um, why doesn't this work? I'm just going to gut this out. I've got to stick to this. And then when I finally realized just that it was literally making me sick, it was time to go. So I made that change. Now, I want you to notice, because I'm also going to harken back to the last video. I talked about poker hands, and I talked about, just upgrading one card at a time. So I took that approach and looked at it strategically and said, okay, I know this is the one company I wanted to work for. I really had I had no interest in any other company. And, what's the one card I can change? Well, I can change the card from being a company outsider to being a company insider. Okay, then what's the next card I can change? I can, start interviewing and find out what the next card is, because I didn't know yet. I knew where I wanted to work and in which office and all this stuff. And I ended up being fortunate because a lot of times when you get hired by this company, you basically said, well, we've got an opening in this office. Are you in or are you out? And that could have been, 50 miles from your home. I got the exact one I wanted. So the process of letting go of that sunk cost of that schooling. And, I want to interject one other consideration, because I don't want anybody to ever think I'm disregarding this. And this freaking student debt thing is just an anchor around everyone's neck. I have tremendous sympathy for it. And forgive me for saying this. I don't want to offend anyone, but I worked really hard to save money to help my kids go through school. And I do not believe that student debt should just be broadly dismissed. I think there's something in between that can be worked out. I'm going to stop right there. So I just want to say, I understand that there are sunk costs in what you've done in the past, but the problem with student debt is that it's actually money you are forced to spend in the future. It's not something. So a sunk cost is something on which you've already spent money. You're not going to get the money back, and you'll be better off by saying, okay, done, enough. I'm now going to make the change. And it's very emotionally hard for us humans to let go of that sunk cost, because whether it's time, whether it's money, it's just this feeling of, wow, I worked that hard. I did this. I invested this. I was emotionally attached to that. I was, whatever it is, it's over. It's a sunk cost. And so, one of the first steps is saying, okay, enough's enough. And that's what that is. The next thing is looking at everything that is in your life on which you're spending money. And are you spending it because you're trying to soothe yourself because money is a substitute for satisfaction, or are they legitimate expenses? And you need to start working on getting rid of everything you can that you don't absolutely need. And it's an act of faith, because it's an act of faith that your next job will provide you much more satisfaction in your overall well-being than if you had stayed at the one you had and you kept all these high overhead things. So I hopefully will not offend anyone, but one of the ways that this was explained to me by one of my great mentors that made a big difference was that the harsh way to look at it is through the eyes of prostitution. I mean, true prostitution. And so the prostitute gets the money, and the customer gets what he gets. And the prostitute experiences absolutely no satisfaction. In fact, she is degraded every time that happens. That's the absolute extreme version. But it's one to then take on and go, oh, wait, how much of that is true for me? And, for most of it, it's a fraction, but it's still a way to look at it and just say, okay, wow, I am paying a terrible price for this. What can I jettison? What can I get rid of? Okay, that's one card I can change. Next card, what's the little change? oh, there's a company I'd like to work in, or there's an, so like you can say, oh, there's an industry I'm not working in that I want to work in. So you start looking for jobs like the one you currently have in that industry. And let's say it's the other way around. It's like you like the industry, but you want to change jobs. You still have a chance to just change one card. And so, um, and I'm realizing you probably should watch the previous video for all of this to make sense. But at any rate, what I really want to be of value to you is to look at money, to look at what you're experiencing. Are you making tons of money because you're in your sweet spot, you're doing what you love, you have incredible energy, and you're just a high performance person who's delivering tremendous satisfaction? And one of the ways you'll know that is you have more money than you need. And the other way is if you are sacrificing yourself, you're trying to use money as a substitute for satisfaction, you're going to see that you never have enough money, because the money you spend on the doodads will never satisfy what's going on for you in your chemistry as far as what that job is doing to you. And so there will never be enough money. And that's where there's this bridging the gap of saying, okay, sunk costs, those go away. What little cards can I change? And saying to yourself, okay, within a year, I'm going to be here, and just having that clear vision. So I didn't intend to make a commercial, but I'm realizing too that if you would like to affect these kinds of changes and you would like to help, and you would like some help, I do provide that service to individuals. And I'll put a link in the comments, and you can check me out at Robert J. Conley. So, I also forgot, if you are watching on YouTube, please click subscribe, please click like. And here's a little secret. If if I get enough subscriptions and, I don't know, meet some other benchmarks, I can have more mobility and flexibility on how I broadcast from YouTube. Right now, because of this just starting up, I'm chained to a computer. I mean, it can be a laptop, but at any rate. So please hit those likes. Please hit those subscribes. If you think someone else could benefit from this, please share it. And I hope that this was of value to you. And I'll see you tomorrow. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but I hope it's of value to you. All right, take care. And now we do the awkward button pushing and looking around. And thanks again.